This is Retirement Keys with Anthony Congemi from Crescent City Retirement Group. When a part of your financial strategy is out of tune, your long-term goals, your retirement savings, and your legacy can all suffer. With many years of experience in the financial industry, Anthony provides his clients and prospects with the information they need regarding Social Security, retirement income planning, wealth management, and much more. Listen in as we address your financial concerns and provide helpful solutions to put you on the path to achieving your retirement goals. And now, here is Retirement Keys with your host, Anthony Congemi.
All right, hello, and welcome again to another show of Retirement Keys. I'm your host, Anthony Congemi, and we have, as we do every Sunday, our fabulous co-host, Mr. Tony Shore. We're going to be talking today about the ultimate checklist for navigating retirement. But before we get into that, Tony, thank you so much for being here. How are you doing?
I am doing great. Thanks for asking, Anthony. I've had a tremendous week, but just crazy busy. As I mentioned, I've been running down to my folks' house every weekend and going over there actually to help out. We got my dad moved off the farm and into assisted living, but there's still a lot of work to be done. So I've been a busy guy, but good, really enjoying things. How about you? What's going on over there? Are you keeping busy? You and your staff seem to be really busy these days.
We really have, Tony. We've been working with our clients very closely as it relates to their retirement plans, as it relates to a lot of the stuff we'll be talking about today on the show. But let me just switch back to your dad, Tony, and assisted living. My dad, today would have been his 90th birthday. He passed away 10 years ago in October. It'll be 10 years. He passed away in 2014, but he had spent the last 5 or 6 years of his life in an assisted living facility that was really, it was really great. The people were just incredible and the services. What's your experience with your dad? Has it been good?
Yes. For the most part, the facility is great. My mom has been there 2.5 years because she's in late stage Parkinson's. And I know some of these homes and stuff aren't great. They're understaffed. They may not be too great, but we found the most amazing place. They live in Minnesota. So they're up in Minnesota and in farm country there in southern Minnesota. And there's a little place in Fulda called Maple Lawn, and it's one of the highest ranked in the state, and it is affiliated with the state. So they accept Medicaid, things like that. But they have just the most amazing staff, and they've done such a good job taking care of my mom. And I really respect the people who run it. Are just, they had one of their meals are actually really good, and one of their meal preparers was out, and the director of the home and the housing director and the head nurse were in the kitchen serving food.
Wow.
Yeah, and they just all pitch in. It's like a family there. Doing really well. My mom and dad know other people who are staying there, other residents. So we've had a really good experience. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, that's great. We talk a lot about healthcare planning in our retirement planning. It really is part of an overall retirement plan is being able to afford quality care, if and when you need it later on in life. And it's just such a big part of retirement planning, frankly. And so it sounds like your parents, probably with your help, have planned accordingly.
Yeah, they have. And it's worked out really well. So long-term care, we've talked about it on the show before. It's tough and it can be expensive, but I wouldn't do it you have to do a lot of planning. And I know that's where you come in. You work alongside estate planning attorneys to help people get
Correct.
These plans in place. And really long-term care and healthcare should be part of a plan. And that's what we're talking about today, is actually having a holistic income strategy, the ultimate checklist for navigating your retirement. It's all part of that, isn't it?
It really is, Tony. So the checklist that we want to talk about today on the show certainly is available to our listeners. So for our listeners out there today that are listening to the show, uh, all you have to do is let us know either by calling the office or letting us know online that you'd like a copy of this checklist, and we're certainly going to send it right out to you. But the checklist for navigating retirement, and it's really, it really covers it all. The journey to uncover a successful retirement strategy can leave you lost and wild. And so this three-part checklist, Tony, is to help our listeners feel more confident and supported as they continue to explore their options as it relates to retirement. So as we go down this checklist, Tony, like I'd mentioned before we got on the show, and of course, if you're driving, don't jot anything down. But
Right.
we certainly have the checklist that we're going to be going over today on the show. We have it available to our listeners. You'll just simply have to call or email us, and we'll, give you that information. But the checklist is going to really break down three aspects of retirement planning. And the first one is income. Correct, Tony?
Yeah. Yeah. Most definitely it is. And I think that people need to understand how to get an income in retirement. Where is it going to come from? People might think, well, I've got a 401k. That's where it's coming from. Right. But you need a holistic income strategy. You have to know how much you're going to need to cover your expenses. And this is a big part of what you do to help your clients figure that out, right?
It is, Tony. And so, the first bullet point on the checklist says, I know how much I will need to cover my expenses. And it goes into each month in retirement. And this is a rule of thumb: 80% of your current monthly budget is a good, solid estimate. So, a rule of thumb is that in retirement, 80% of your income from what you were receiving when you were working is really a good, solid estimate. Now, what I can tell you is, and we're talking about a net number here, Tony, not a gross number. And so let me just distinguish. When you are working, and frankly, what I'm getting ready to say here is what I found to be not only the simplest, but the most accurate in terms of trying to help clients figure out how much income they're going to need in retirement. And so with that said, we're talking about a net number. So when you're working on the job, you make this gross number, but of course you could be in a higher tax bracket. You might be putting into a 401k and other retirement plans. So really it's the net number that we're solving for, kind of that take-home pay that you're receiving after everything has come out of your check. And what I can tell you, Tony, is if your retirement plan, if that income, that net income has been, what y'all have been living on or what you've been living on, this net number, that's a really good place to start. 100% of the net income while you're working, if your retirement plan can get you started with that same net number coming in the door every month, that's a great place to start, Tony, as far as we're concerned.
Sure. I mean, you have to know what you're looking at and where that money is going to come from. And you have to look at all the different sources. And I know, Anthony, this is where you come in, and your role is so critical, and why every one of us should be working with a financial professional. And that is, you can make costly mistakes if you don't. And you don't know, it's that not knowing for sure how long your money will last. Whether you
Correct.
think you have a lot or a little, you want to know how much it's going to, where it's going to go, where it's coming from, and where it's going to do the best, right?
Absolutely. And so, when we start looking at an overall retirement income plan, really the three primary sources, Tony, that people receive, or retirees receive their income, is going to be, Social Security, obviously, some type of pension or annuities, or some type of other defined benefit, maybe veterans benefit, some type of pension, annuity, some type of defined benefit plan, and also investments. So
Right.
you really have those
401ks,
three
IRAs.
primary sources: Social Security, pension and annuities, and investments are going to be your primary sources of a retirement income plan.
Right.
Tony.
And when you say investments, you're talking about, most people have their investments for retirement in 401ks, 403bs, IRAs, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now don't get me wrong. I mean, I have clients, we have clients that have rental income,
Sure.
and they might be a consultant, it might not be retiring and going cold turkey, on the whole thing. They might transition into a part-time work. I know a lot of our medical professionals clients do that as well. But what I can tell you is there's one word prior to income that we think is a real important word, and that is stable income. And so what stable income means to us is whether you're flat on your back and you're not able, I mean, even rental income, for our landlords out there, I think y'all would, agree that it's not, just the money's coming in without any, work on your part. I mean, there's always going to be maintenance. There's always going to be, collection of rent. Maybe the tenant moves out. You have to repair the place or get it fixed up, recondition it for another tenant. There's maintenance that has to be done when you're renting property. And when as a landlord. And so even though it can be really good source of income in retirement, there's still work to be done.
Oh, yeah.
And so when we think about stable income, we're really talking about passive income, where you could, again, be flat on your back and the checks are coming in. And that's really what we're going for, Tony, in our overall retirement income plan, is that stable passive income.
Right. And I see the next bullet point is that inflation. It mentions inflation, and you've talked about this on the show before. But your plans that you work on with your clients you make sure they account for inflation as well, right?
Absolutely. So I had mentioned earlier, how we go about starting the income in retirement, and we believe that if you're retiring and your net income is comparable to what you were bringing in while you were working, that's a really good place to start. But as you mentioned, Tony, things are going to cost more 5 years from now, 10 years from now. So you have to have some type of inflation increase built into your retirement income plan. Otherwise, your quality of life is going to diminish. You're not going to be able to do the same things because, again, the cost of living goes up. So, Social Security, the acronym is COLA, COLA, cost of living adjustment. And so what you're hoping is that your income in retirement will also have that COLA across the board. So it goes up, your income goes up as inflation goes up. I was just talking to my brother-in-law over the weekend, and he was telling me about a very, famous restaurant. I won't mention the name of the restaurant on the air, but a really famous restaurant here in New Orleans. And he was taking his father-in-law for their birthday, and we're going to this restaurant. They just happened to be riding by. I say, hey, let's go check it out. He goes in there, and a oyster po' boy was $44 for an oyster po' boy. I mean,
my goodness.
And so inflation's hit us across the board, and we just need to make sure that our income in retirement is going to keep up with the cost of living.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I mean, if you need $100,000 this year to live on, in 20 years you're going to need maybe close to 180 or 190,000. So, if you have 3% inflation a year,
3% inflation, that's exactly right, Tony. So, you just want to make sure that your income plan and retirement is going to keep up with the cost of living. Otherwise, the income that you have starting out just won't, be sufficient 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the
Sure,
road.
sure. Well, let's go over just a couple more bullet points regarding income, and then we'll move on to the next phase of the checklist. But Social Security is definitely on the income checklist. You want to maximize that, and you've done many shows uh, on that, and you hold seminars on that. You really need to maximize your Social Security, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. We often say that income planning is really the foundation of any overall retirement plan, and certainly that is true. Social Security and Social Security planning, I would say, is the foundation of any income plan. So, it really is an important piece, and understanding all of the options that you have, the filing strategies, and all of the rest. Years ago, Tony, before we were, had the software and the platforms we have to help with Social Security, we found ourselves with a legal pad and a calculator, and we would help our clients, best we could. But today, with the software and the platforms we have, with all of the filing strategies built in to the platform, it really makes things so much, frankly, easier and more accurate to really be advising our clients on a Social Security strategy, because we have it all in front of us. I mean, it's really a number crunching, actuarial number crunching exercise that the platform goes through. And of course, it uses average life expectancy. So that's kind of the wild card. How long are you going to live? But in the platform, it has average life expectancy for males and females. And that, again, continues to update when Social Security pushes out longer life expectancy. But nevertheless, it's a great tool. So Social Security planning, Social Security maximization is really a big part of an overall retirement income plan.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's a huge part of it. So also, I know that we'll just touch on this briefly, but an emergency fund, you want to have an emergency fund, right? Just so you have liquid cash in case of emergencies.
Yeah, that's real important, Tony. So when we think about an investment strategy, there's really three aspects: liquidity, income, and growth. And so you really don't want to get that turned around. If you have a structured income plan with your Social Security strategy and your annuities or your investments that are structured for income, your pension, and all of the rest. If you have a structured income plan, and then all of a sudden, yeah, there is some emergency, right? A hurricane deductible has to be met, or remodeling the home, or purchasing a car, helping out a kid or a grandkid. You need to have that slush fund or that emergency fund. And so that being carved out, that emergency fund for unexpected expenses, is so important. So you're not forced to liquidate your investments that are utilized and earmarked for other things like income, like growth. So liquidity, emergency fund, that's certainly every bit as important as any other aspect of your overall investment strategy in retirement.
Oh, yeah, it's huge. You have to look at all of these things: Social Security, all the different types of tools and strategies out there, where your money is at, how much is at risk in the market, what you have in money that will be there, the secure income in retirement. That is really important. Now, let's take a quick moment here to let our listeners know how they can get a hold of you, Anthony.
Absolutely. So again, our website's a great place to start: crescentcityretirement.com. You can go right on the website. There's a spot you can put your name and email address. We'd love to send you right away this list of questions on really retirement strategies. The first list of questions is on holistic income planning, but it's the ultimate checklist for navigating your retirement. We want to send you that. You can go to crescentcityretirement.com and ask for it, or simply, if you're old school like me, pick up the phone at 504-828-2171 and give us a call, and just we're happy to send this information out to you.
Sure. And I think one of the main parts of this checklist is working with a financial professional and having them look over your income strategy and help you develop an income strategy. Or if you already have one, get a second opinion. And so that's why it's so important. So let's talk about that for a minute, about why people out there, why our listeners, a lot of them might think, I don't need to work with a financial professional or a fiduciary. I don't have that much. I've just got money saved for retirement. I've got a 401k or an IRA or a pension. I don't need to worry about it. But you've already mentioned things like inflation, interest rates, risk, having an emergency fund. Our inflation is the silent killer, and that's a big one. But what other streams of revenue do you have, and at what time do you pull from which revenue stream? What do you do? Should you let Social Security roll up and be pulling out of your 401k or IRA or the markets, or do you pull out of the or do you take Social Security and let the other funds grow? So you have to do the math, and that's where you come in. There are so many different strategies, Anthony, right? I mean, isn't that what you do for your clients?
Absolutely, Tony. I mean, you just bring up a lot. I mean, where should money come from, and what's the most tax efficient way to structure the income, depending on how the money is taxed? I often say the balances are important, but is not as important is understanding how things are titled and how things are taxed, and then how you structure your distribution strategy based on the titling again and the tax implications of pulling money out of certain accounts. So having a distribution strategy and knowing where the money's coming from and how Social Security is going to be utilized and maximized is so, so important. And, the other thing, Tony, I might add, we all of our lives have worked and saved and worked and saved and worked and saved. And people, spend their whole lives, they paying off their debt, raising their kids, working and saving for retirement. But what happens when you get to retirement, or when you're in the kind of that red zone, 3 to 5 years away from retirement, you have to start thinking right away, fundamentally, things are going to change as it relates to your investing, because you're not working and saving in retirement. It goes from an accumulation strategy, if you will, to a distribution strategy. You're not putting money in anymore. You're doing what? You're taking money out. And so that distribution plan, Tony, is so important, right? That's where we find ourselves in retirement, that we are now pulling money out of our portfolios. We're not putting money in. And that is something that we don't have a lot of experience with, because we haven't done it. We haven't been there, right? And so that's why having a retirement planning firm like Crescent City Retirement Group that has hundreds of clients that are in retirement, these distribution strategies, Tony, are so important. And, the average, I would say, person or family doesn't have very much experience in this regard. And it's not their fault. It's just that you haven't been in this phase or stage of life. And so you really do need a professional, whether it be us or another firm. But there's too many moving parts, and you want to make sure you get it right.
And before we go, let's talk about that. You're offering them, you'll send them a copy of this guide There's no charge, no obligation, and they can set up a no charge, no obligation consultation. So once again, before we go, talk about that. How can our listeners get a hold of you?
Absolutely. Please, if you're listening, you would like a one-on-one retirement success session, call our office, 504-828-2171. That's the phone number here at our Metairie location. Again, that's 504-828-2171. Or if you prefer, just simply go online to crescentcityretirement.com and you can schedule a call right there over the right on the website. So we really hope that you do that. Take advantage of the complimentary retirement success session. We want to help you transition into retirement in the most enjoyable and efficient way. Thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to hearing from you soon.
All right, and that does it for today's episode of Retirement Keys with our host, Anthony Congemi. Thank you for listening to Retirement Keys. Don't pay too much for taxes or retire without a sound income plan. For more information, please contact Anthony Congemi at Crescent City Retirement Group. Call 504-828-2171 or visit the website at crescentcityretirement.com.
All matters discussed during the show are for informational purposes only. Each individual situation may vary, and the opinions expressed here may not apply to everyone. Materials presented are believed to be from reliable sources, and no representations can be made as to its accuracy. All ideas and information should be discussed in detail with one of our qualified representatives prior to implementation. We are not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration, the Federal Medicare Program, or any other government agency. Calling this number will direct you to a licensed sales agent.